A new update, new bugs, and some ninja nerfs. So first of all, do not do your Battlegrounds. If you get a loss, it will consider it as a win with regards to the rewards and not give you the rewards. So you could lose 10 matches and that's it. You would get no rewards for this week. As you can see via these player reports. Losing a game and still increasing the counter of the gained rewards but not actually giving you any rewards. Additionally, some players are reporting that they're not getting the expected rewards from the new event dungeon. I open the chest here and we simply just get Stellarite, Dimension Pumpkin and a Tombstone Fragment. Now this is actually by design. You may look at the rewards though and wonder, where was my drop from group 1? Well, this is actually just 10%. That means a 1% drop rate to get this or this item. 2% for these. And most of the time you are just getting Stellarite and then these two are guaranteed. So that's just user error. You may also have noticed that all of your fortunes, calling certificates and stones are gone. You may have checked your mail and not received any promised rewards. Well, you simply have to be patient. The Fortune's Calling event is promised to give out its rewards up to 2 weeks after it has ended. They say that right here. So yes, you should be getting things like Noble Trait Resonance Stones, Chaos Rune Chests, this Amatoy, Obsidian Fragments, and the first year anniversary emote and classic Grandfather Clock, due to players reaching these certain milestones, which undoubtedly we should have enough players who reach those, as it was pretty easy in this event if you manage to do all these activities. But moving on to other bugs and issues you may be having in the game, when you open your Chaos Rune chests, or you get more Chaos Runes than your rune book can hold, which is a maximum of 100, then they will get just thrown in your inventory. You will need to go back to the rune book and delete some to free up slots so they get added. Then you can use them. And that's why they go to your inventory when your rune book's full. So these reports are simply players not understanding the system. There are reports of Supernova, which should have got changed with this patch to reduce movement speed just by 80% rather than to 0. I haven't managed to test this for myself, as you have to do so in PvP, but apparently this spec still puts it to 0. Additionally, a bug where Da Vinci's Courage can now stack up that attack speed buff and also damage reduction. However, there's a much more concerning bug that's been prevalent for quite a while now, and that's with regards to Phantom Smokescreen. If you have this specialization here, it does not matter where you're located. I can cast it on now, and then I have the effect of Smokescreen no matter where I am. And this lasts me 8 seconds because my buff duration, or nearly that. So that's pretty game breaking. You cast this on your team and then you're free to run around for 8 seconds and you will evade all projectiles. Devs have still not fixed it. Additionally, Curse Explosion is still broken for field bosses. Whenever you use this thing, it is mitigated twice by the enemy's damage reduction. Once through the damage over times, and another time through the damage itself, making my Fury utterly useless to run in field bosses, and other classes like Invocator losing quite a bit of damage through that. This has been in the game ever since they added damage reduction to those field bosses, which I believe was sometime back in summer. But it seriously needs fixing, so there's proper weapon damage contribution balance. You can of course argue, what about healers, what about tanks? And yeah, it appears the devs don't really care about them, so ideally try and make a DPS build for field bosses. One thing I'd really like them to add is contribution via buffing their team. So if I boosted my team's damage by 6%, all that damage that my teammates deal via this buff should be contributed to the person who casts that skill, making buffers actually get rewarded in those parties, in those field bosses, for boosting the damage of their teammates. Ideally, that would work with something like Deadly Marker 2. For all the extra cooldown you give your teammates and all the extra damage they deal as a result of that should be contributed to the caster. We may end up in a complete buffer meta, but I think that's better than a full-on DPS meta. and it at least will encourage players in group content to use those support abilities, which generally are superior than having your selfish support effects, like me running Janus Rage rather than some other damage ability. There is a player reporting where he opens noble blessing pouches and doesn't get any rewards, so be careful of that, but I don't know how valid it is. Additionally, they seem to have removed the option where you can hide your online status. There used to be a privacy tab here, I believe, and you would select it and you would remain hidden. So nobody could see you online. I believe in like friend lists and the guild, you'd be marked as unknown. So this patch, removing that feature, means anybody who had that enabled is stuck hidden. Also, this patch should have changed the material effect with plate armor on spear to be CC resistance. But you can check in game and it still says CC chance. It's been quite a mess. You can see the player's report here, even has a screenshot of it being CC resistance. But if you check the update history, 3.1 actually intentionally changed it to give CC chance instead of CC resistance. And then this new update today was supposed to change that back to CC resistance. So I don't know what's going on there, and the devs are probably confused too. There are also reports that the new specialization or the new skill effect on Death Blow is not properly reducing the cooldown of your guillotine blade, as you can see here. However, there are player reports that it's only not working on dummies, and thus it should work on monsters and like other players. And then there's an issue with the skill cores. Well, just the fact that there's no option to do so. There's no option to upgrade the Talandre Archboss skill cores. Only Tevent and Queen Belandir's here. They haven't added Giant Cordy and Delas Noah, but they have added the option to upgrade the Cordy and Delas Noah weapons, as you can see here, which is a little bit concerning because you may have extracted that skill core and now be hoping to upgrade it. A workaround would be to craft the weapon, but you would have to spend 10 more of these reagents, which were going to be quite expensive early on, and then craft the actual weapon and then extract the core from that again. However, be aware the Korean devs have a known issues list, and on that at the bottom is the fact that yes, Talandre Archboss weapons cannot be upgraded and have been restricted until November the 4th. That's Tuesday in 2 weeks. However, a follow-up says it's been fixed through temporary maintenance that they had earlier. So it may very well be due to that they didn't add the option to upgrade those skill cores, but then ended up adding the option to upgrade the weapon. So it's a bit of a mess, yes. If I were you, I wouldn't rush to upgrade it just yet. Wait until these materials get cheaper, because we need to, first of all, get those archbosses. And the more rotations we have of this, the cheaper those reagents will get. It doesn't even look like until Tuesday in November that we get the first one of Delas Noah. Before that, it's all Tevent and Belandir, and just the conflict versions of the new Ascended bosses until then. So those prices are going to be very high for a while. But finally, I want to address the Juniboat Spear. Players have been reporting this ever since it released, as this item stated it would create that flame zone, and then all targets hit by that flame zone should create another flame zone of the same area. However, with today's update, they've gone and Ninja changed the tooltip. It no longer states that it will create extra areas. I have the spear, as I got it through a participation chest and claimed this one from the choices. As you can see, the tooltip is just no longer having that extra effect. It's basically now a copy and paste from the tier 1 version with no upgrade, other than the actual stats on the weapon, which I don't think is the intent, but maybe this special effect they hoped to add was just so bugged they kind of gave up on it. But it's not just that is broken. It is also the fact that the ignite effect only applies to one target within the area. You can see we can go amongst all these dummies and only one of them will get the ignite effects, the ignite stacks, and that's this guy right here. He's the only guy burning after the full duration of that area. And that doesn't make a lot of sense for a multi-target effect. They should all be getting ignite. And as per the older description, they should all be creating their own areas around them, which should make it a pretty decent multi-target effect, or a zoning area in PvP. If those areas actually applied the effects of Bloodleech Aura too, that would be pretty cool. Now the devs did respond to this. They say they are aware of the issues and to keep an eye out on future updates on their server status channel. And yeah, they say they appreciate your patience, but I think it's unlikely to ever get updated to its proper form, which is kind of sad since they've gone and now changed the tool to entirely removing that effect. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to highlight. Again, don't do your Battlegrounds. Wait until the devs acknowledge this, as there probably won't be any compensation unless you go nag customer support. But ultimately, thanks for watching. Another special thank you to all these channel members for your extra support, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.